Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to learn about prompts and prompt engineering. So let us start without any further delay. So what is a prompt? A prompt is an input or instructions that you give to an AI model to guide and what kind of response you want. So basically it's anything that you provide to a AI model and you want something in a response. So there can be different types of prompt based on the categories like question prompt, instruction, creative and code prompt. Like depending on what your intention is, they can be divided into different categories. So these are not only four categories, there can be different types of prompts based on your intention, based on the context and the role you are providing in the prompt to the AI. For example, in a question prompt, you ask a question, for example, like what is a data frame in pandas, where you are basically querying something and you expect an answer for that. Instruction prompt is something like you are giving some instruction to it, like explain data frame with a real world example. It's not in terms of question, just because you are asking for the same thing but just the tone changes. That's why the category of the prompt changes. So prompt types of prompt can be based on the context and based on the tone and based on the way you write the prompt, can be categorized into different things. For example, creative prompt is something like where you expect something creative from the AI, like writing a story or something, creating a video or something like that. Code prompt is something where you want some code from your AI, like write a Python code to create a pivot table or asking the AI to write a function or something that is related to code, right? So that can be done, that can come under code prompt. So prompt engineering is a skill of designing and refining prompt so that AI model gives an accurate, relevant and high quality outputs. So the output of the AI model is highly dependable on the prompt, the way that you are passing the prompt to a AI. So if you just give a simple example like explain data frame, then it will just give an answer to you regarding the data frame, what is data frame, and maybe some description about it. But if you say something like this, like give explain about data frame and give me an example, then it will also provide you examples as well, which it might or it might not provide in the first scenario. I'm not saying it will not provide examples in the first scenario, but depending on the AI models and how it has been trained in the backend by the developers, it can or it cannot provide the examples. So if you want something in your answer, you have to mention it in your prompt. Make the prompt more, give the more context in the prompt. So we'll see how we will do that in the later part of this video. So prompt engineering is just designing the just the way of designing the prompts so that AI gives you more refined responses, less, for example, less vague responses. So in simple words, prompt engineering is equal to asking the right question in the right way. Now let us see why this prompt engineering matters. Because depending on the quality of your prompt, the response of AI may change. So if your prompt is vague and has less context, AI may give you a different answer than the answer it will provide when you provide a detailed prompt with actual context and role and everything. So let's take an example of that. For example, let me try these two prompts. I'll just say explain recursion and let's see what a ChatGPT response we get in this case. Let me type here and let's see. So it's given the response. So it's telling me what, it's giving me the definition of recursion, then two mandatory parts of the recursion. It also giving me example and everything, right? This is because this has been trained on lots of data. Like everyday people are asking lots of questions, and these are like very common questions for us, right? So it's already know what usually people like to hear, and that's why it's giving you all of this. But let's again try with this type of prompt where I provided a bit more context, where I'm saying give me a simple Python example and it should be for a beginner. So right now the example I think is in Python only, right? By default it's selecting Python only. uh, so instead of Python, let's say Java. Now if you will compare the response, right now it might not be very different, but it will be different in case of more complex queries. So here if you'll see, the response is a little bit different than before. So especially with the example, right? If you will see, just putting a beginner word in here, like explain it to a beginner, it's giving you the more detail about it, like rules and all. So depending on your prompt, so where it here didn't give you the rules, right? It just explained you the parts like base case and recursive case. Base is like just telling how to write a recursion, right? Now it is trying to be more descriptive, because I'm saying like explain it like a beginner. So it's giving you a much more detail, right? Folder, subfolder, I don't know, I'm not going into these details, but it's trying to give more detail, and it also given the example in Java. So that is why prompt engineering matters. For example, by default, if you want something in Java, but ChatGPT would not know that, right? It will just give what maybe people ask for more. For example, maybe more people are asking for Python examples. That's why the default is Python, or it may give Java examples by default, like depending on depending on scenarios to scenarios. But so if you need something in answer, you have to mention it in a prompt. Like keep your prompt as refined as you can, so that there is less confusion for AI. So AI models actually don't think like humans. Like they predict the responses based on your input. Like it's not just like humans. Human understood the concept. Like for example, if you are working in a company which is looking for Python developer, then by default they would understand that you are looking for some Python skill set. But if you are hiring for a Java role, by default it's like you are looking for Java skill set, right? But it's not like AI. AI takes the input from you, and based on that it gives you the response, and based on the previous knowledge which it has gotten from other people, and while training, based on that it will give you the response. So a small change in wording can completely change the result here as well. That is why prompt engineering matters, so that you spend more time in writing prompt, and later you can save time while getting the response and refining the responses given by AI. You spend more time in prompt, and you get actual response what you want in a single go. So how prompt engineering works? So LLM responds internally like this. So you provide a prompt where you generally provide an instruction and a context. For example, like this, you ask the AI to explain about recursion, and you provide a context like it should be a beginner response, and example should be in Python or Java or whatever. Then model converts the text into tokens. So basically, AI model, if you go inside that, it will just take this string, and it will just divide this string into different tokens. So tokens can be divided on by various algorithms. So usually bigger words are divided into two different tokens. For example, let's say explain and recursion are like big words in this example. So let's say exp will be a token, and this will be a token. Then maybe in recursion, this will be a token, this will be a token, 2 will be a token, a will be a token. So it will divide the complete string into different tokens, small tokens, depending on the algorithm that is written inside it. After that, it converts that token into vectors. That is the internal working of the LLM. I'll create a different video for that. But it converts the token into vectors, and use that vectors to predict the next token by passing into transformer and many other layers. It tries to predict the next word that it should return based on the context you have provided here and the instruction you have provided here. So as soon as you provide the prompt, it extracts the context out of it, and it tries to predict the next word it should provide in the response. So basically, when you provide this prompt here, what the ChatGPT did, it created different tokens. It converted them into vectors. It passes through different layers, transformers, uh, and all the other layers, and after that it figured out how to predict the next token from it. So as we are talking about recursion, the first word here is recursion. Then as we know that we have asked him to explain it for a beginner level, so it has given this in the heading, explained for a beginner. While in the first case, as you can see, the first heading is what is recursion. There is nothing beginner or something like that written here, right? Because we have provided a uh, expected output. How do we want the answer to be? It is modifying the answer in that scenario. It will just improvise in the manner. So it's providing the after it predicts the recursion, it predicts the next word that should be there. So it will be explained, and then it keeps on going until unless the answer is complete. So it predicts the next word based on the context you have provided, and whatever it has generated in the response before predicting the word. So based on all that context, it tries to predict the next word, and after the answer is complete, it stops. That's how LLM provides you an answer. So it predicts the most likely next token repeatedly. The structure, tone, and clarity of your prompt bias the probability distribution of the tokens. So if you I'll create a separate video on this. So when AI model, any LLM model tries to predict a next token. It chooses a set of tokens, and each token has a probability defined to it. So it depending on different algorithms and scenarios, it generally picks the most probable token and gives you in the output. Let's talk about all this in detail in a different video. So you provide a prompt where you provide your context, you provide an instruction. Let's say prompt is very vague, explain sorting, or maybe prompt B is like clearer structured prompt, like explain bubble sort to a beginner using a real life apology and simple steps. In this case, it will not know, right? That you are talking about bubble sort. It will just explain you the sorting. I don't know, maybe it contain example of merge sort or maybe any other sort. But if you want something, you have to mention it in the prompt. Then model converts text into the tokens like this. Explain bubble sort, like each word here is token. Explain is a token, bubble is a token, sort is a token. Then model predicts the next token again and again. For example, let's say uh, for each word that it wants to give you in the response, it asks something like this: given all the previous token, what is the most likely next token? So right now the tokens are these: explain bubble sort to a beginner, and all these are the tokens it already has, which it got from your prompt, right? So next word, let's say, is algorithm, way, or thing. Maybe there are three words that it needs to pick up. There are three options, and each option has a probability defined to it. So the first one has the highest probability, then this has the second highest probability, and so on. So based on different algorithms, or based on the settings you have set up in the alarm, like temperature and top P, top K, and all those things, it will pick up option in the all the probable tokens, and it will give you that in the output, and it will again do the same thing for the next token, and keep on doing the same thing for the next token until unless the whole answer is complete. That's how the LLM model works in high level. So now we know how the AI model predicts the response. Let's say from a user or a developer perspective, how the process will look like. So first, let's say you are using LLM for a problem. You have some problem and you want LLM to help you in that case. So you first to define your goal. What do you want from your what do you want from the model? Like maybe break the problem into smaller sub problems and tackle them separately, or maybe ask the question, what do I model to produce? Whether I want a summary, or I want a detailed explanation, I want code, or whatever you want, you have to set a goal for you. For example, a beginner friendly explanation, production ready code, or YouTube script, SQL queries. Like it's uh, very vague. You can ask for anything. Like at this point of time, LLM models are like very accurate. Like they can provide you everything you want. Then you identify constraints and the context. So you find out how your response should look like. For example, what is your audience? It's a beginner level, it's a senior dev, or it's a non-tech kind of response you want. What should be the format of the response, like bullets, table, paragraph, or code? What it should be. Then the length, you want a summary or you want a long detailed explanation, or it should be a formal response or a casual response. What language, what should be the output, what is the uses of the output, it's for a blog, it's for API, or a video. So depending on all these things, your answer will change from the model. So in your prompt, you just define all of these based on your use cases, and that's how you perform the prompt engineering and make the prompts more refined. Then you define the initial prompt. For example, let's say we have written this small prompt, like explain pandas data frame with example. A simple prompt. It doesn't contain everything that we have talked about, but it's just a first line of prompt. Then you run it. Then you observe the output of the particular prompt. So let's say if we write this, we get a response. We observe that output. Then we ask, review it. Like, is it too verbose for us, too generic, or what is wrong with it? Maybe it is missing some examples. Maybe it's repeating things and it's just hallucinating. Then you make notes of it, like this is missing, it should be improved here. Based on your reviews, you again refine your prompt and add more control to it. For example, earlier it was simple this, right? Explain pandas data frame with example. Now you can say something like this: explain pandas data frame to a beginner using a real life analogy and a small code example. Here again, we have not provided the language of the code, right? You want the code in Python or Java or whatever you want. So it may provide you code in any language, maybe the most probable language is Python right now, so maybe it will provide you the examples in Python. So based on the response, you again define a prompt. So you have now in this prompt you have specified the audience. Your audience is a beginner level. Then you have added the explanation style, like you want a real life analogy, and you have asked for examples as well, right? So you will definitely get that example, maybe in any language, because we have not specified any language, but it will give you an example for this data frame. Then we add an output structure to make our prompts more strong. For example, explain pandas data frame to a beginner, start with a real life analogy, then give a simple definition, so a small Python example, keep it under 120 words. So here, if you provide this kind of prompt, let's say, let me provide this kind of prompt to ChatGPT. Let's see what will be the response. Okay, I'm not sure how many words there are, but as you can see, the answer is like really short from before, right? Previously, you have these many long paragraphs, right? But now, as you can see, because I have written this limit, keep it under 120 words, you can see the example, the answer is very short as compared to the above. Maybe it's under 120 words. I'm not counting. And you have also an example, and you have a small explanation as well, right? So what you have provided in the prompt highly affects your response from AI model. So as your prompt becomes more refined, more controlled, and more structures, uh, this output becomes predictable. Like what you can predict how the output will be, how the response will be. You will not know what the response will be, like the exact words and all, but you can predict how the structure of output will look like. So you then will test with different variations, like different inputs, different edge cases, ambiguous cases, all those things. You try the prompt with different uh, ways, and just after that, whatever prompt you find is more suitable for your problem, you log that prompt and you version it and reuse it, or maybe parameterize it. For example, this is a template this is a small template I've created, like explain a concept to a audience, use this kind of style and limit to word count. So here, if I just replace the concept with any other concept, for example, like SQL concept and audience label, instead of beginner, let's say senior level or something like that. Style means like Python example or something like that. But word count, like different word count you can provide, right? So you don't have to write prompt again and again. You just parameterize it. You just change the variables based on your problem, and you can use the same prompt again and again. So this is a template that you can save, version it, and maybe improve it later, create different versions out of it. But you can use this template for similar type of problems again and again. You don't have to work on your prompt again, right? So this saves a lot of time. Plus, refining the prompt also saves the cost. As you know, each prompt that you provide is divided into different tokens, right? And that produces a cost. So more number of tokens, more cost you will have. So smaller prompts, more refined prompts will lead to a less number of tokens, and it will save your cost as well. After that, you just monitor and approve and continue the prompt tuning. Like keep doing these things again and again until you get the expected prompt, or the prompt that you want to save as a version, and you still monitor it in case your requirement changes or you want to modify something in the prompt in the future. You have to work on it again. So it's never end. Like it's like performance tuning. You keep on monitoring the performance and improving the performance, right? Like if you have written the load test for a REST API in your companies, then you know, right? Like once you deploy the API to prod, you keep on monitoring the performance, right? And based on the performance, you keep on adding things or improving things, right? It is not a one-time job, right? Like sometimes requirement change, sometimes traffic changes, sometimes traffic is high, sometimes traffic is low. Based on that, you have to improve on your API, right? And add more resources, or maybe autoscalers and all those things. So it's the same thing for the prompts as well. Like after you get your first version, you keep on monitoring it, how it is performing, and based on your performance and based on your requirements and modifications and all those things, you keep on doing this again and again, like creating different versions of the prompt. So that's how a prompt engineering looks like in a maybe developer's life. let's move to different elements of a prompt, like how can you write a good prompt. So basically, a prompt that will have these types of elements will be considered a good prompt, because here it tells the AI model like what type of output and what type of input you are expecting. So let's go to all the elements that a prompt should have. It's not a compulsion that they will have all these things. Depending on the scenario and depending on the problem structure, they might have only 2 to 3 things. For example, context will be there in most of the prompts, and role and persona you can provide to maybe, I think, all of the prompts, but all of them may not have an output format, or maybe rules like the limit on the words, depending. For example, if you are asking something in detail like research papers, for something like for research paper or something like that, right, you cannot limit your words, right? You want it as descriptive as it can, so you will not provide any constraint on the number of words, right? So depending on your problem structure, your the elements that you will provide in your prompt will change, and but some of them are really good to have. For example, uh, instruction will be there in every prompt, like what do you want from your chat gpt, from your AI model. So what do you want in the model, like for example, let's say explain how the binary search works, summarize the article, or generate a code. Like these are 3 different instructions given, right? Here we are asking for an explanation, we are doing some research, we are asking for an explanation. In the second one, we are providing an article, and we are basically asking it to summarize it. And in the third, we are asking for a code on a linked list, right? So they're based on your problem, the instructions will change. And make sure to use clear action verbs, like vague verbs will confuse the models, and you will get the vague outputs. Then you provide the context. Context means the background information that the model should know, because it will help it will help the model in providing a more refined response to you. For example, like we saw, right, maybe in the earlier in this thing, maybe we wanted an example in Java, but it gave us in Python, right? So that's why whatever you want, and whatever context you want your model to have, you have to provide in the prompt. So without context, it will just give you the generic answers, like whatever people maybe usually ask, or whatever is mostly asked by the people, right? Maybe depending on that learning, it will give you the answers. But if you will provide your what do you want from the model, like how what language you want to code in, and how your output look like bulleted or paragraph or tabular, depending on all that, your response will change a lot. Then you have to provide input data. Input data might not be possible for all the scenarios, right? For example, here, if you want a Java code for a linked list, right, but this is also a generic prompt, right? What kind of code, like maybe adding element to linked list, deleting element from linked list, what kind of operations you want to perform from the linked list, right? You are not clear on this, so it will just give you a generic answer. Maybe it will give you a class which performs all the operations, or maybe just the addition of a node, something like that, right? So also in this case, like summarize this article, here you have to provide article as the input, right? Because without providing the article, how will it summarize, right? So input data, depending on your problem statement, could be different. So you have to provide input data which it can take an example and work on it. Then you provide a role. This is very important actually, because this affects a lot. So for example, if you are doing research, then you will say that you are a researcher. If you are providing asking for something code, then you will say like you are a senior backend engineer. If you are asking for front end code, that front end engineer. So depending on the category, what you are trying to uh, what are you trying to get from the model, you provide a role to it. For example, if you are trying to create a YouTube video, or maybe writing blogs, then you say you are a content writer. So depending on the answer you want, you provide different roles to it, so it just adapts that role. Uh, this is really helpful when you want some reviews, explanation, or education. For example, let's try this. um, let's first try this. Let me open another window, and let's just give this simple prompt. So it just created a node class, and I think it's doing everything: inserting and deleting by value, search, display. I think it provided these operations, but you want something like insert in the middle and all those things as well, right? I don't think it has written code for that. And yeah, that's all. So now let's modify it a bit. You are a senior Java developer. Java linked list for insertion and deletion of node on beginning, middle, and end of linked list is the code modular and maintainable. Follow solid principles. So now if you will see this prompt, I have provided a role where I'm asking the model to enact as a Java developer, and I am asking for a code to insertion and deletion in middle, beginning, and the end of linked list. And I have also provided a few extra things, right? Like I want the code modular, like classes, maintainable, and solid principles as well, right? To follow the solid principles. So if you will see now, the code is way different from before, right? So here, as you can see, it has just provided you a class, a singly linked list, and a class of node, and it has written all the operations inside it: delete, search, display, and everything. And this is just a demo, a main class. Now because I have provided this role and I have given some instructions like to keep the code modular and maintainable, solid principles, and all that, you can see the code is written is way different from now. Now it has a node class which is a generic. I think last time it was not generic. Let me check. Yeah, this is not generic, right? So now it has provided you a generic class and generic node class. Then you have just created an interface for the linked list so that you can work on it for different types of data. And then it has given you a generic code. Now you can use this linked list for any type of data class, right? uh, so earlier it was I think only for a specific type of object. I'm not sure which. It has created a node in this data. I don't know what this data is here. Oh, this is an integer and that is a node, right? It's just created integer data. Now as we have written a senior developer, now it has done something generic. So now you can provide anything here instead of integer, string, be any other custom class. So this is like really much better than the previous code, right? So depending on your prompt and what role and what instructions you provide in the prompt, your output changes a lot. If you will compare these two code, right, let's compare. So here if you will see, this is a singly linked list class and it is like it's working on integer data only, right? Now if you want a linked list that should have a string values or maybe some custom values, custom class values, you cannot use these functions at all because there is no option at all, right? Because you have just provided a vague prompt here like Java code for a linked list. What does this what should it do? You haven't tell them. So now here you have provided a senior Java developer, right? It tells you it tells it like you are writing a code for something production like environment, right? And you have not specified any data input type as well. Like you have not provided how the linked list will look like. It will have integer values or string values. Like you have not provided that, right? But you have provided the role. So it knows when you write a production ready code, it should be as reusable as it can, right? So that in future, if you want a different data in linked list, you can use the same code, right? So it has created generic classes now. So as you can see, it's much better. Now it has all the functions written. I'm not going into the details. And then we have a demo. So yeah, it's giving the demo. So let's not go into that. But as you can see, the output is changed by a lot, right? This is much better than the previous examples. So let's go back. Then after this is the output format, like how do you want your output. Like you want the output in bullet points, step by step explanation, output JSON, YouTube shorts. So here as well, maybe you want to move the insertion and deletion operations to different class. Let's say I want my output, I want insertion and deletion in different classes. Maybe that will be not a good thing to do, but let's try it. Use different classes for insertion and deletion. Now it will just do that. Let's check. So same thing, insertion contract and deletion contract. So it is creating two different interfaces right now. This for deletion, for insertion. So based on your output, what do you want from it, how the output should look like and everything, your output will change by a lot from the LLM models. Then you can provide constraints as well, right? Like do not use emojis, do not use comment. I think it has written comments here by default. By default usually they write comments, they haven't in this case. But if you will use copilot and ru code and all things like that, generally they write comments along with the code in the files. So you can just say do not write any comments and follow solid principles, follow dry principles and all those things. Maybe advanced with no code explanation only, whatever you want. You can just put the constraint here, maybe number of words and whatever you want the constraint should be. Then you can also provide some examples. For example, if you are asking for somebody, or you are asking for some small tone changes, right? Like rewrite the following sentences in professional tone. So this is the um, input you are providing to it, that you have to work on this and give me a professional tone for this particular sentence. Then you can provide some examples as well, right? Write this sentence in a professional tone. This is one of the example, this is one other example, and now rewrite this in this case. Let's try this. So let's say I'll just provide this prompt and create a new window for this. Okay, so this is the answer. This product delivers excellent performance and meets expectations effectively. So this is way different from this one, right? So it has given you a more professional tone, right? So let's try with this prompt. Let's see if the answer differs. Let's see how the answer differs now. So as you can see, the answer is different. It's bit shorter and words are also different, right? So depending on your input, if you have some examples, if you can provide some examples, which might not be always possible, like in case of code changes and all those things, but if you can provide examples, you should provide the examples. It will just tell the model how your output should look like, what tone you are looking for, how big or short answer you're looking for, and depending on that, it will provide you the response. And maybe it's more better for you than this one, because this has more number of words. Maybe you want your response as short as it could be, right? So you can just provide the examples on this case. Then the success criteria, how will you judge the response, like if it is a good response or not. So explanation should be understandable by 10-year-old, or answer should include real world examples, code must follow solid principles, all those things, like what should be followed while writing the response. So when you put all these things together, or maybe some of these things together based on your problem statement, then it becomes a good prompt. For example, writing prompts like this, a simple paragraph or something like that, it doesn't give you much. But if you will include all these in different scenarios, for example, like this bad prompt will be explain linked list, but a good prompt will be like, as a computer science professor, explain linked list to beginners using simple language and a real world analogy, use bullet points, include small Java example, and keep it under 200 words. So this is a good prompt, what a good prompt will look like. So the more context you provide, more clear, more concise your prompt is, the better answer you will get from the LLM models. Okay, now here are different types of use cases for prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is being used in almost all the sectors right now, like software development, education, content creation, health research, AI agents, and everywhere. So like in software development, it's mostly used for code generation and debugging, like because it has increased the productivity by a lot. That's in nowadays. And in data analysis, it also used for pandas, insights, creating reports, and all those things. It can do everything for you. In education, it is used for teaching concepts, making quizzes, videos, and all those things. For content creations, as you can see, you in the YouTube, there are already many videos running that has been created by AI. Then customer support for creating chatbots, FAQs, and all those things. Then there are many AI agents are also available for task automation and tool uses. Then in research, business and product and creative writing as well. Everywhere the models are being used, because now the use cases for models have become very vast. You can use them anywhere and everywhere. You just have to be more creative to use them. So try to write as much as refined prompt as you can from now on. It will improve your responses by a lot, and it will save your time as well in all the scenarios wherever you are trying to use the models to get the answers. Okay, that's all for the today's video. In the next video, I will define different types of prompt techniques that you can use to get different responses for the model. But that's it for this one, and thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe my channel.